Hello everyone, I'm so glad to say that I'm back. Finally, we are starting the season. I know it has been a long while since I posted a video last time, but the thing is, April was really turbulent. The weather broke all the records. It was the strangest weather I have ever experienced during this April, and don't get me wrong, we had a lot of snow, which was the most depressing time for me because everything was sprouting and some of the trees were started to bloom, and then it was minus 10 degrees Celsius during the nights and it was snowing. There was so much snow around and I was just shocked, really. And it was all happening a couple of weeks ago. I mean, like, today is the 27th of April and it was just shocking. Honestly speaking, we still keep having this weird weather. Nonetheless, everything has to go on, and I'm finally getting my hands on the Polytunnel and I start planting everything in here. And I really wanted to plant and chat with you. Well, this year, the tomatoes, they are really nice. I mean, like, they look healthy and everything, but they're so huge because we couldn't plant them earlier and only the end of April allowed us to do so, even though tonight is going to be minus 2 degrees Celsius according to the weather forecast. But just because we are in a low-lying part of the village, we're going to experience even colder night. I hope everything is going to be fine. As per usual, I'm going to plant the tomatoes, the high varieties of tomatoes, in here, in the very middle of the polytunnel. And in there, I'm going to plant the tomatoes of small varieties. And in here, I decided to dedicate an entire patch of land to aubergines. Last year, I had such a bumper crop that I still keep eating the aubergines that I froze, and the taste is divine. It's as if you have picked the fresh aubergine, you have cooked it, and it's the most delicious thing ever. That's why this year I decided to plant more of them and to preserve a lot more aubergines. So let's get down to business. I'm going to give you a small tour around the Polytunnel, even though it's not prepped at all. We still have something planned in here just because winter was pretty dry and we didn't have much snow. We have to water everything in April. It's crazy. I mean, like, a couple of years ago in April, the whole Polytunnel was flooded and it was raining non-stop, but this April and probably May is going to be pretty dry. I'm really shocked by this sudden changes of weather patterns because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to do and you can't rely on your schedule that you form during all of these years, because you have to be adapted to that. That is one of the reasons why we have this incredibly high tomatoes, because we have started doing everything according and following our schedule. But April was just mind-blowing. I had no words and I didn't want to even show anything and film anything because, as I've mentioned before, I was in such a depressive state because honestly, we had a lot of consequences of that period of time. Of course, everything is in blossom right now, but in reality, the blossom is really scarce, and I don't even know what we're going to have in the end. Well, at least we're going to have a vegetable garden if May is going to be not so harsh as April was and still is. That is the amount of tomatoes I have here. In here you can see some cucumbers. We have planted them earlier into some kind of like the sacks, and we cover them with additional layer of protection because of the really cold nights. The same in there, we have cucumbers covered, and we started enjoying our own radish. To this day, it is of this kind of like size. It's really delicious, as well as green onion. And you know, the most amusing part is that by the Polytunnel, on the southern part, we have strawberries. And somehow they appeared in the Polytunnel and they started blooming. Just have a look. We will have some early strawberries in here. It's incredible. I know I have to take care of this part and to remove all of the weeds. That's something that I'm planning to do. Nothing is prepared yet in here, but I'm really glad to start. It's not like I'm depressed about that. That is another experimental patch of strawberries I decided to plant, and have a look at that. Soon enough, we are going to taste strawberries. That's really incredible. Even though I've tried different variations and different method of planting tomatoes, I still keep changing something. And for now, what I prefer is to plant less tomatoes, because before I really wanted to have this plot completely packed with plants, but then I realized that they suffer a lot when they are really close to each other. When it comes to the method I plant, I think that it's just the same, just because I like it. It's not like an ideal tomato to show this way, but let's imagine that I'm planting the tomato which is pretty high, which is not a problem at all, you know that, because the stem of the tomato has the tendency of growing roots, which is a marvelous thing about tomatoes. So I take it out, and usually I do something like this. So I lay it in a way like this, and I cover it with the soil, and I tend not to remove the leaves. I still leave them even under the ground. I do not remove the leaves, because when you remove the leaves, the tomato is going to grow back. So it means that it needs a certain amount of leaves in order to start the blossom. And basically that's going to be like that. And I do not do with the tomato, which is lying like this, because once it's going to be sunny tomorrow, the tomato will raise its head up itself. And that is a very remarkable thing. The first thing when I was doing, when I was using such a method, I was afraid that it's not going to be straight up. But I was really surprised that after a couple of hours when I planted it, they were just as if nothing happened to them. That's why I don't do anything with them. So I just cover it like this, and I do not touch it. And of course, watering, which is really important today in the Polytunnel, since the soil is so dry. I hope for the rain, you know. I don't know what the weather will be like this season. I mean, the amount of rainfall that we're going to get, but every year we just suffer from extreme dry weather. The thing is that I'm not going to plant another tomato next to this one into the opposite part. I'm going to leave it like this, but I'm going to alternate. So it means that next tomato that I'm going to plant is going to be in there, but they're going to maintain a rather big distance. That is something that I really want to try. Because I believe that that is the best way I can do something like this for the patch of land that I have in here in the very middle of the Polytunnel. I have planted everything and I know that it looks like a mess because I'm going to cover this patch, and I decided to take all of the leftovers of the tomatoes as well as aubergines that I'm going to plant later, and to put in here so that to cover them as well. That's why it looks like a mess and you can't tell exactly where I've planted the tomatoes, but it is just a very necessary measure because we are attacked by cold nights, and I hate it as much as any gardener. The sun is setting and it's just getting colder, and in order to preserve the warmth in the polytunnel I need to close it, so I'm going to wrap everything up, and of course I'm going to show what is going to happen tomorrow, because that's going to be the coldest night for the past couple of weeks. So I'm covering it with the textile material. It's not going to be a plastic wrap or anything, though a plastic wrap is a lot better. And literally it's going to be enough for the whole patch. And I'm going to remove it tomorrow. It's just for the night. The polytunnel is completely fine after this night, and as you can see, the tomatoes I planted yesterday, they are completely straight at the moment. That is something that I was saying. They even did that during the night, and of course it looks still a bit empty because they're going to grow with time, but at least it's satisfactory. Today I'm going to continue my work here in the polytunnel, and I'm going to plant small varieties of tomatoes in there, and in here I'm going to plant aubergines. They're here, by the way, too, and they look completely nice as well, though they're pretty sensitive to cold temperatures, but I hope I'm going to cover them too. I hope everything is going to be completely fine with them. Thank you for staying with me this couple of days, and I'm going to be back with lots more interesting things that I'm going to show, just because everything is changing so rapidly. See you soon.